3 words to sum up the Gate: breadth, danger, and style.
Dynamic, creative, and youthful.
Beautiful little gem.
Bold, hot, and beautiful.
Quite edgy, quite fresh, unexpected.
Ambitious, ridiculous, and joy.
Chaotic, competitive, and inspirational.
Dirty little powerhouse. No. Don't you laugh.
Small, hot, cheap.
I'd just come to this country and I thought, well, studio theater, you know, this is going to be something like we've got now. And the expectation of walking into this wonderful studio theater that was going to be given to me for a peppercorn rate, and I thought, gosh, this is just a tatty little room. And really, that was a disaster because I had such a high expectation. And then thinking about it, I thought, well, you know, as Peter Brooks said, the space is what you put in it.
I think it took me a while to understand just how tiny it was, which I think is the experience of quite a lot of audience members, that to start with you see it as this huge and creative and inventive place, and slowly realise it's this tiny room that's transforming itself like that.
The limitations of the space are kind of an invitation to see how far you can go.
Because the resources are so constricted, so small, the space is so confining, you can do just about anything.
The stage was absolutely minute, and it was, what was fantastic is that especially on big shows, you would get this incredible excitement within that space. Obviously a shared space with the audience, one body of air, very clearly one body of air, one body of a room that you were sharing with, and you could cook something up in a way that was very intimate and very exciting.
Anyway, I got a phone call saying this man called Stephen Daldry wants to meet you at the Gate Theatre, and I'd never heard of the Gate Theatre, Stephen Daldry, and it was in Notting Hill. I'd never been to Notting Hill because I wasn't from London. So my meeting was at 3:30, and I just couldn't find it. I just assumed that I would arrive at Notting Hill and there would be this enormous neon lights, you know, with a big sign saying the Gate Theatre. I finally found it, and I was so disappointed. I couldn't tell you how disappointed I was. That I walked in to this sort of pub thing, and there was this bloke, Stephen Daldry, that I was so cool. I could not have been more cool, I think, and I'm sure as a result, he immediately offered me a job, because I just couldn't, I was like, oh, whatever. So I kind of spent 3 years here, even before I was artistic director, and I spent 6 years here in total, so it was the place where I became an artist.
The Gate is the most important thing that happened to me at the foundation of my career, because I could do literally what I wanted, and I think that is the dream of every young director.
It's contributed most in the opportunities it's given to people at the right point in their career and their artistic development. Actors, designers, but I would say mainly directors. I think that when you look at the directors that have come through and really gained confidence and learnt to take risks and do really good work there.
The most remarkable thing about the Gate directors, artistic directors, is they've all gone on to be in some way distinctive and successful. Look at any one of us. You know, and you'll find we're still doing things that are slightly at odds with everything else.
I think the Gate has always had a very specific and vital role in that it's a London venue that gives new and emerging talent a platform, and that's what young people need.
It's where a whole generation of practitioners started, and they started in a really, really wild and creative way, and I think that sort of fired off a lot of other possibilities right across the culture, particularly now that a lot of the people are right at the heart of the mainstream culture.
I discovered there was no theatre, small or large, that really was doing any international work, which is now unbelievable to think about.
without it, at the beginning, there was no understanding what was happening in the rest of the world. So it genuinely was opening up international theatre for London audiences.
I think it had a reputation for doing weird foreign shit.
I was doing a show here called Women of Troy, directed by Katie Mitchell. And she decided she wanted to make the theatre very, very hot so that it would replicate the conditions of ancient Troy, the dusty, arid conditions of ancient Troy. It was like 105 degrees in that theatre. And I came on stage, I was Talthybius, who was a soldier. I came on stage carrying the dead baby Astyanax upon my shield. As I was delivering a long speech to the women, who I couldn't really see, my entire stage was lit by a single candle. So I couldn't actually see anybody's eyes at all. All I could see was that I could see that there were 11 women in front of me, or 10 women in front of me. There was somebody just sort of in behind the chimney breast, and all I could hear as I was doing my speech with the dead child, Astyanax upon my shield, was a soft whimpering. just whimpering, help, help, help. And I went, who the heck is that? Did a quick head count, and all the women were in front of me, so there was somebody extra on the stage. She had obviously darted across the stage during a very hot bit to try and desperately get out. Got there, did the old Marceau thing, couldn't find the door handle, and then retreated into the corner behind the chimney breast.
James, the extraordinary thing is I was there that night.
You were there that night?
I was there, I promise you.
So you were there?
I was there that night, and I heard this whimpering, I can't do it. And then suddenly she got up and broke for the border during what she thought was a blackout, a scene change. And then she ran, and we knew she was running in the wrong direction, and she had no chance.
She had no chance of getting out.
And then suddenly the actress came on, and she was immersed in the scene. It was that.
And I went round the back again after I finished my long speech. I opened the door to let her out, and she came out, and like the Wicked Witch of the East, she just went and melted on the floor, completely passed out. Passed out, totally, unconscious. Katie Mitchell's Theatre of the Immersed. You know how much I got paid for that engagement? 4 months' work.
Mm-hmm.
Still got the cheque, £63.
We paid our actors at the gate in terrible lunches, and if they were lucky, and if they were in a small enough cast, travel cards. Sometimes they didn't even get that.
We weren't paying anybody, and sometimes we could give expenses, sometimes we couldn't. And then we'd do food for the cast in the dressing room before the show, and I used to do food at home because I lived round the corner.
We knew that we were going into a building where the history had been that you could put any play on at the gate because you could have as many actors as you like because none of them were paid. And that spirit slightly changed when, in the time that we were arriving at the gate, so we knew that we really needed double the energy to kind of make it all happen.
Yes, there was a very big turning point while I was running the gates, which was that performers were paid something for essentially the first time. On occasion there'd been the opportunity to pay performers through co-production, but largely they were volunteers. They were part of the volunteer workforce. And for lots of reasons I felt very strongly that couldn't continue.
That was a really important breakthrough moment because then suddenly it opened up the gates to a much wider field of actors who were happy to come and work here and who could afford to take kind of 6 weeks or 8 weeks out of their lives and come and work here.
We were the first to be paid equity minimum at the gate, and we're grateful for that.
I always think that the gate should be like a rebellious teenage brother or sister who you have a sort of love-hate relationship with and who you adore really deeply, but you also sometimes find quite trying and difficult, and who is trying to find their way in the world and to kind of make their mark.
I think at its best the gate is a crucible. I mean, it's a crucible of people that can come together at a particular time and for that period of time change the world, and that's what it should be doing, and that's what it has been doing, and that's what it hopefully will continue to do.
The gate does function best when it's doing things that are really impossible, and stretch everyone to breaking point, and that's certainly what I felt doing my shows there. But I think it's always been the most thrilling when the impossible is achieved, and that's what I'd like to see continue to happen in its future.
What the Gate needs to do is constantly surprise, and it can surprise by going smaller, bigger. It can do that in any way. No one can tell anyone how to surprise anyone else, but it should constantly do that.
I hope the Gate is allowed to continue to be as brave as it's been in the past. I hope that there's not only resources, which are very important, but an energy and a determination from the people who run the Gate and care about the Gate to let it be bold and different and sometimes unpopular, and to dare, to keep daring.
And I think we're really keen that in our 30th year we do celebrate everything that has happened in the past, but we actually continue to push forwards and really forge forwards with that spirit of we're not going to stop experimenting, we're not going to stop pushing what we can try and do in this small space.
And a huge hope for me is that the independence that directors in particular have, which is not part of any other stable, it's not a National Theatre studio, it's not an RSC studio, it's not a theatre upstairs studio, it's its own independent self, and that independence is so important.
Okay, 3 words on the Gate now. Surprising, ambitious, and unusual.
Daring, fun, and loyal.
Irreverent.
Challenging.
And ambitious.
Imaginative, essential, and international.
Ambitious, groundbreaking, and surprising.
Commitment and kind of energy and commitment. That's the same word, isn't it? Commitment, energy and passion.
I think amazing, amazing, amazing might be the best I can do.
Anything is possible.